my very first day of work, I walked into a giant conference room with people seated at individual tables, all masked up, doing reopening planning. And it was, the academic team, it was the instructional technology team, it was operations, it was everybody, it was special pops, it was student supports. And, here I was walking into that room. So I just floated for those 2 days, was trying to learn people, or at least part of their face, was trying to listen, ask questions. And in all the rooms, I really heard this underlying theme of, how are we going to know how the kids are? And this was I think a felt need from March, April, May, and the way the school year ended. And so many students hadn't engaged in that environment. We knew this had to be very, very different. And I just heard this theme. I heard it from the academics team. I heard it from the IT folks, because we were deploying hotspots and laptops for every student and family, which was a major undertaking, right? Like 74,000 devices, over 20,000 hotspots. So, and then I heard it certainly from the student supports team, right? I mean, this was just a key thing. And I ended up having a meeting with Dr. Battle that day on my very first day. And she's like, tell me what you're hearing. And I was like, I think we're all really worried about that connection and the relationships that we know are so important for learning. And I just mentioned to her, like, I think because of this, we have a real felt need. We can do this. We're going to open virtually. And I think I also talked about it with her and with the leadership team is, look, these are the conversations we have in the hall or in the cafeteria, or, when we can see a student and just make that connection. We have to have a system and a real intentional system around those check-ins in this world, right? We really wrapped it up in this really important piece of communication that we started to just hammer on, which was every student known. And by every student known, we meant every student known, cared for, respected, and supported. And, this resonated with people. It resonated with our educators. It resonated with our families. Like, that's what we really all want for our kid. And that's why we get into education, right? Are these relationships with students. And so I think in that it was a real felt need across different stakeholders. So it was easy to talk about. And so we just came in with supports that made it as simple as possible. Like, we really focused on simplicity. So we created a handbook with scripts. We translated those scripts. We wrote all the emails that principals could send out. We created the opt-out procedure. Like, we tried to move all the logistical, as many as possible, just clear the way to make it happen. We made recommendations to schools. We met with all the principals, all the executive directors over those schools to talk about the non-negotiables. Like, here are the non-negotiables. Every student must have a weekly check-in from somebody at the school level, but that should not just be a teacher. Like, we need to think holistically about the staff at the school and who can serve in this role. Our goal was to get if you take all the students at the school as your numerator, we wanted to get the denominator as big as possible, right? So we have some front office staff, we have cafeteria workers serving in this role. It really, the criteria I really pushed schools on was to think about who can form strong relationships with kids, right? That's what we need here. And so we started making calls, right? Teams or phone calls. For high school, there was a lot of texting that went on, as you can imagine. So as these weekly check-ins, we also knew at the district level, it's going to be really important to create a data system so we could push in and be of help. Because this was it sounds so simple when I describe it, but it was a heavy lift, right? And so we created a dashboard, which I'm happy to show you. And I think there's a little snapshot in the article, but we basically created a Microsoft form that is not perfect, but was really a low barrier of entry. A navigator is on the call with a student or a family if it's a very young student, which I could talk more about. But they complete this form every time, and it's checking in on basic things. And this is where we really started, right? So questions around housing insecurity, food insecurity, technology, right? Because that was such a lifeline. That was the way school was operating for a student. And also social, emotional, and mental health, academic, outside of school. We also we had some questions around kind of what you do outside of school and how that can be supported. So these were areas we checked in, and not all of them every check-in. And the system kind of allows navigators to take notes, and so they can follow back up on things in there. But this feeds into a Power BI dashboard that we created, and it's updated in real time. So that allows us to push in at the district level to the student level as well. So for example, the HERO program, our homeless, our students with housing insecurity, that program is under me, and that staff can, if a navigator clicks a box that they have some concerns that this family or student might have some housing needs, then that team can push in directly from the district level. So that was one of the big value adds for schools, right? Like, you're not in this alone. We are monitoring this and pivoting, and that data was so rich for us. So in the beginning, we saw really high needs in technology. So we pivoted quickly and opened virtual technology support centers, which were still operating, right? Like, so we just tried to use that data to act upon it. Another key piece of data that comes to us through the dashboard is if a navigator clicks that a student is in need of a collaborative referral. So this means that there's need for support here. A team at the school level will push in there, make sure that collaborative referral is created, and that those sometimes they're outside services, for example, are connected to a student. We've this trying to light on the fact that sometimes that system falls down for a kid. And so we've really done a lot of data tracking there, and improved that system in general, across the board, which I'm really proud about, because what I hope is that creates a web of support where students aren't falling through those cracks, which has been, is a worry for all of us all the time, but particularly when we have students who are not with us in person.